Welcome back. So one type of video I have not been making this summer is Love Island videos. The just the negative reaction, the no traction, nobody watched him. Fine. So I've not been but I'm watching every episode. And one thing is, with our vacation being later in the summer and Love Island being earlier in the summer when it's being broadcast, it's easier to keep up with everything and not worry about spoilers. So we're completely caught up. It is on 6 days a week, which I know makes it difficult for some, I would imagine, to really get into it. And there's some questions I have. And we've also been watching The Snake. And I wanted to talk a bit about the US version of Traitors, because there's a pattern to all of this. Reality TV, if you watch reality TV shows from around the world, and I try to, where I can, and I do this because it's interesting to see how different cultures approach it. One example would be, and I've talked about it before, Love is Blind. You watch Love is Blind Sweden, you see a completely different looking cast than you're going to get for the US. You watch Love is Blind Brazil, you get a completely different cast, and you get cultural differences. You get huge cultural differences when you get into various different cultures around the world. And so it's fun to watch from that point of view, to see how courting is different, how dating is different, how families are different, and it does make it more entertaining to watch. However, Love Island is not what it started out as. The first season of Love Island I watched with my wife, and we enjoyed it. The way the show used to work was everybody would pair up, you'd send in an extra guy or an extra girl, and so you have one extra, so everybody pairs off, and one person's left standing there by themselves, so they're eliminated and they go home. This is no longer the show that it is. Now the show, like last night, there were 20 people in the villa. 20. That's 9 couples and 2 singles. And then at the end, they made it as messy as possible. And the show has become so ridiculously messy. No longer is it just this simple show where you've got, say, 5 couples and there's one extra person that's going to be voted out at the end because they just don't have a pairing. That no longer matters. Last night, the people who got eliminated were all in pairings. The single people stuck around. So now America voting makes a difference. But what we're starting to see, too, is a lot of cyberbullying. And this is where people are really taking this to heart. And I think this is where having the show on 6 days a week is kind of, I don't want to say dangerous, but it feels like it kind of is, because people get really emotionally invested in all of this. For me, and I've got Huda's name on the board because I want to make sure I didn't forget, Huda's had numerous breakdowns in the villa. And on other reality shows, I would think somebody having the kind of nervous breakdowns that she's had would be pulled off the show. Or at the very least, you would hear, we've taken her out for a day. She's getting looked at, like, talked to. Have a psychologist on hand. Somebody to make sure that mentally they're able to handle everything that's going on. And it feels like reality shows, and I don't want to make this seem like it's just an American thing, because I know it's not. But it does feel like with American iterations of reality shows, they try to amp up the drama more and more and more, and then tack on a little bit more after that. And it's only noteworthy because I do watch the shows from all over, and, Traitors being a good example. The US version, nobody plays it right. The idea of traitors is simple. You have 2, 3, sometimes 4 people who are traitors. They are, at night, naming off people that are going to get bumped off. Some shows, they say they're murdered, and some shows, they say they've been banished. Depends on the international edition. The French one, they just say the traitors have banished this person. And so I do find that kind of odd, because then you're banishing them at the round table, but then you're banishing them overnight as well. So it's just, I don't know. I feel like it makes it look like the traitors aren't as evil that way, right? But the US version is just, I don't like that person, so I want to vote them out. Well, we have an alliance. So since we have an alliance, we're not voting for anybody in our alliance. That's not what the show should be about. You're supposed to be trying to find the people who are bumping off everybody else in the house. Because at the end of it, if somebody who is a traitor stands with 2 people who are faithful, the traitor wins all the money. So the US version, just it's all reality stars. And one thing I always thought with the Traitors, the US version too, is I don't know how many of these people need the money. I don't know how many of these people care about that $250,000. I think they're there for clout a lot of the time. I think they're there with the idea of, hey, this will expand my base on Instagram. And there's been that accusation for Love Island as well, that there are people on this year's show that are there simply for clout, for their Instagram followers and all of that. And there are certainly people who throughout this summer have formed very little in the way of an actual connection. And it's weird, isn't it? Okay, we're gonna put all these attractive people in here together. All the girls are gonna be wearing basically nothing. All the guys are gonna be wearing shorts, no shirts, because sure, why not? And they're gonna just magically all pair up together. This year, we haven't seen the strength in the pairings that we have in previous seasons. And this could be a casting thing. When I see people in the villa that, oh, you're from there, so am I. That's your hobby? That's mine too. Wow, what a coincidence. And I'm thinking, it's not a coincidence, it's casting. Casting set it up this way. But I think when these people are over the top, like Amaya's a sweet girl on Love Island, but she's also very trusting, and she's very quick to fall in love. And she really wants to fall in love. And for guys, that can be a lot, where you do something nice for a girl, and then she's like, hi, remember that thing you did for me earlier? That was really nice. So, what are you doing later? Getting married? Or what size wedding ring do you take? Because I want to compare it to mine. And how do you feel about babies? Like, she has that energy, so I can understand. But obviously, when you're casting, you would know. And you would have this idea of, guys are probably going to be put off by her intensity, but it is going to make for some great drama on TV. Not even thinking about the mental well-being of people you're putting on TV. I've talked on this channel before about how this could change, that there are lawsuits in process, that we could see a major change in how reality shows work and how casting works. Because if we start seeing the behind the scenes, hey, I watched Trainwreck, The Cult of American Apparel last night, and oh my god. Anyways, if you haven't watched it, it's alarming. It starts off as this, well, he seems kind of crazy, sure. And then you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize it went that far or all that was going on. And yeah, it does feel like with reality TV, we do not see the whole story. And I don't like it. I don't like that the way that this show, Love Island, is working right now. It is basically America gets to screw with people on this show. We're going to vote this person here, this person here. We don't like that person this week. We don't like that person this week. And it just, it causes people who are on this show to go, hey, what are the people watching TV seeing? What are they seeing that we're not? What did that person say behind my back? Because they just said that person's not trustworthy. And this is every single episode now is about creating more drama. As an example, they have this Casa Amor, which is where you take all these couples that are together and you take all the guys and you send them off to this other villa where there's all these brand new, barely clothed women, and then all of these really understanding, decent, tall guys this year. All the Casa guys were really tall. I thought that was weird. But I mean, that's the stereotype, right? Women will usually go for the taller men. I understood that. I was like, okay, Ace is like probably not much taller than I am, and Chris is like 6'8". So obviously the show knows what it's doing here. But it's set up so that you have a week away from your significant other, and maybe you build a connection with somebody else. Well, this year, they made you partner up immediately when you got to the new villa. And something happens on reality shows when you're partnered up. Even if you're not romantically interested in the person you're partnered up with, you get jealous when you see them talking to somebody else, because you know that if you're single, you're probably going home. So that creates this competitive mindset, which I don't think should work for dating. I don't think that's how it works. I do know there are guys who will get mad when their girl is talking to another guy. I do, because I've always been the other guy. I don't get mad if I see somebody I'm interested in or even romantically involved with talking to somebody else. I can't make somebody not cheat on me. I can't make somebody be faithful. And if just going off and having a 5-minute conversation with another guy is going to turn somebody's head, it's going to happen. So me watching them and babysitting them and treating them like they're children doesn't help. So, but the way that reality competition shows work, and the fact that you can win $100,000 on Love Island, like I've been watching some of the actions of people on this season and going, you just cost yourself $100,000. You just cost yourself $100,000, and for what? And because a lot of the time, these couples almost never last. So you're costing yourself $100,000 because you think this girl's a little prettier and she's more likely to make out with you. And you're costing yourself a share of $100,000. It's not worth it. It's just not. I've talked about too hot to handle. Nah. At any point in time in my life, you could have sat me in a villa and gone, hey, if you even kiss one of the girls in this villa, you lose money. But if you keep your hands to yourself, you could make $250,000. I'd be like, cool. I will touch no one for the entire summer. But that's not what the show wants, is it? So they cast people knowing that they're not going to abide by the rules. They're not going to have to pay out $250,000. It's just weird. I also want to talk a bit about The Snake, because The Snake is a new one starring Jim Jeffries. I think I've talked a little bit about this in a video before. But it's weird because people lie on it for no reason. There's a lot of lies being told on this show, and I'm wondering, are people encouraged to lie? Are they told that if they lie that they'll get more TV time? That'll help them somehow? Like, they make all these weird alliances, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Because you can only... I don't want to get into the rules, because honestly, we're 3 episodes in, and I'm still not sure I understand it, because there is no way to tell who's going to win the show. And there's no real way to guarantee who's staying and who's going home either. So it's just this random show of random weirdness, and they have a lot of gross out challenges. So if you like gross out challenges involving people eating disgusting things or being covered in bugs or spiders or snakes, The Snake is for you. I just don't understand the strategy of having 5 or 6 alliances. You're going to have to stab somebody in the back, meaning now those people are not in your alliances anymore. So you've alienated multiple people. Like, if I was in there, I'd probably have one person and go, you know what? I like you. You like, all right, so we'll pick each other. Cool. And that'd be it. That's as far as I'd go. And everybody else says, well, can you pick me? I'd say, actually, I have an agreement with that person. We will pick each other. If somebody else picks them, I will consider picking you as the person I'm going to save this week. So I like you. You're a good person. Cool. Awesome. And there you go. That's it. I don't understand all these random, weird, bloody alliances. I don't get it. But casting went out and went, hey, we're going to get a bunch of people that we know are backstabbers and throw them all together. It's just... And the pastor's the one nobody trusts. And I'm thinking, why? Like, there isn't any reason for... It's just the amount of drama that's being created on these shows. And the one thing that I worry about... So you have questionable editing, and I know it's there. So going back to Love Island, trust me, I'm going somewhere on this that does not involve the show necessarily. So Amaya freaks out because they have this whole thing where they're all telling the truth about each other, because you know that's going to go well. Okay, everybody tell each other the 100% truth of how you feel about each other. These people you've been stuck with for the last 6 weeks that you didn't know before 6 weeks ago. That's going to go well. No drama there. So everybody tells Amaya she's dramatic and she's over the top. So what happens when somebody's dramatic and over the top and you tell them that? They cry and they run off being dramatic and over the top. Well, she runs off, and she was upset, and then when they came back from commercial, she's sitting down with everybody else, and she's fine. And the person she was upset with, now she's not, and she's actually backing that person in the next argument. So what they did was they cut out the part of the show where you might actually see the connection between these people, and that they're good friends, and that it was a misunderstanding, so that the audience will just focus on the fight. So that the audience will focus on the drama. And... it is insane. The whole way that everything is designed on these shows is to encourage conflict. And I hope it doesn't take this, but at some point in time, because you're picking people that are temperamental, because you're picking people that might be more likely to throw a punch than not, you might be picking some of those people, like, this guy will be fun to have on the show. You may end up with a situation where real life violence comes out of this. And it might be real life violence between cast members. It might be real life violence from somebody who watched the show, and because they watched it almost every day, they feel like they know this person. How many recent creepy encounters have we seen with pro wrestlers where fans feel like they know the wrestler and they'll just show up at your house? It's creepy. And this encourages that. And I find it bizarre that producers and networks and directors and all these people are encouraging this, knowing that in a society that's very fractured, where we basically live online, we don't have those personal interactions anymore. It's easier to demonize people that you don't agree with. than to try to discuss things with them rationally, because it's easier to just do the demonization and stick to your social construct online. You're basically setting this up where you could have violence. You could have real life consequences. And I don't understand why they continue to do it's going to take something dramatic, I guess. Although based on the train wreck episode on Netflix that I watched on Travis Scott's concert, the Astroworld disaster, it doesn't matter because we already had those disasters at concerts before, and we learned festival seating was bad, and they're still doing it because money. They make more money. So I guess the question I have is it going to take something happening outside of these shows, outside of these bubbles, for real violence to spill over, for networks to say, wait, maybe we should stop with all the drama? And I say this because there are a lot of reality shows I watch that do not have this drama. One of the reasons that I'm done with Hell's Kitchen is because when I watch Master Chef, Chef Ramsay's a nice guy. He's down to earth. He's decent. He actually goes over and helps people. And on Hell's Kitchen, there's no reason that when things are going wrong, he couldn't go over to a chef and go, all right, what's going on? What's going on? Let's work through. Okay, so let's get the timing right. Okay, so you do this, you do that, and we'll get that. He could fix it. He doesn't want to. Why would you fix it? Just yell and scream at everybody and throw everything. And so when you watch other Chef Ramsay shows where he doesn't do that, it makes it stand out to me when he does, because it tells you it's a character he's playing, and that is a dark side of reality TV episode that I would recommend. Absolutely would recommend the dark side of Hell's Kitchen, because that was very eye-opening. I'm looking forward to a dark side for Love Island, because you know it's there. I hope that the people who've been getting death threats for the last few days on this show, I hope that for the people who've been getting mocked for their appearance, for their behavior, and are just getting absolutely cyberbullied into the ground, well, they don't even know what's going on because they're still on the show and they don't have access to their phones or social media. Because that's the other thing these shows do. They isolate you from everybody and from everything you know, so that all you have is this show and the people on it, which is going to change your mentality. It's going to change how you're thinking about everything. And it just, to me, feels like we keep building this really sort of potentially dangerous situation when it doesn't have to be there. Like, I've watched Great British Bake Off many times. I've watched the Great Canadian Bake Off is fantastic too. And there's none of that. There's none. Everybody gets along. Everybody works with each other. They help each other. Like when there's 5 minutes left in a challenge, if one person's done what they're baking, they look around and go, does anybody need any help? And they help. And they don't just like stand there and do like one little, they will help you finish your dish. They will help you finish your presentation so that they know that everybody has an even chance of doing well. When something's screwed up in what you're making, they'll go over and go, well, what you did wrong was, and they'll actually help you. The judges will help, the hosts will help, and so will other contestants. So when I watch these reality shows where contestants work together and they get along, and it's just as good. It's not like it's not as good as the less dramatic everybody's fighting with each other. It just makes these ones where everybody fights with each other and clearly producers are creating drama. It makes them stand out. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts. I'd be very interested to know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys so much for all your support. And yeah, this is just something I wanted to talk about today because it's really standing out in my mind with all of the dramatics. And of course, Traitors is coming back in the fall. And I'm not even getting into Survivor. Part of the reason I stopped watching Survivor was because it just turned into, okay, there's an alliance, and then there's another alliance, and then one alliance wipes out the other, and then the alliance that won cannibalizes itself, and ta-da, the most horrible person wins the show. So it's a formula I didn't like. It's the same reason I kind of stopped watching Big Brother. I got tired of, I'm an alliance. Why do they have all these alliances? Why? Why can't people just not have an alliance and have competition? Why does there have to be these massive alliances? The challenge, for instance. The challenge routinely has people that go right to like the quarterfinal who aren't even good, but they play a good social game. So even though they're garbage in challenges, they go that far. And the people who are really good in challenges, well, we get them out early because we don't want to go into a final against them. I mean, imagine if sports worked that way, that all of the bad teams end up being in the final 8 teams because the good teams were too good, so we got rid of them. But reality TV is very different. So thank you guys so much for all your support. As I said, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I will talk to you again soon.